On the auspicious occasion of Hanuman Jayanti, we take up this chopai. 36th chopai. We are left with 4 more. संकट कटे मिटे सब पीरा, जो सुमिरै हनुमत बल बीरा. All miseries vanish when one remembers Sri Hanumanji of great strength and heroism. All difficulties come to an end, all sufferings are erased. Hanumanji has no selfishness or jealousy or fear. Out of his infinite compassion, he impels us in our efforts and quickly grants us whatever we ask for. Be they worldly joys or joys in the heavens or final liberation. The jiva suffers because of the conditions and the people ill disposed to him, as well as the fruition of his bad karmas from previous lives. Hanumanji puts an end to both of these in the devoted jiva and leads him to final emancipation. Goswami Tulsidas ji says, we need not remember any other deities or devata chittana darahi. Just remember Sri Hanuman and we will get all we need from him. One should have full faith in whosoever one worships. We should have single-pointed devotion. If we choose to worship Hanuman with full faith, all our prayers will be answered. All other deities like Indra, etc. are worshipped for some or the other selfish desires. Some are prayed for wealth, some are prayed for health, as we saw in the last chopai talk. But these deities are themselves full of desires. Lord Indra is always afraid that someone who does a lot of penance may take over his throne. Such deities may or may not answer our prayers. But Hanuman's devotion for the Lord has no selfish desire. He is engaged always in serving others, serving Shri Ram, serving others. So, he will always answer our prayers. We should worship him alone, therefore. All our problems, pains and sorrows will be eliminated. This is as far as the text interpretation is concerned. kate, sankat kate. Tulasidas ji writes that by remembering Hanuman ji incessantly, troubles are cut then and there, which means we are cut off from all the troubles and miseries at once. Whether due to our karma the sankat will get cut off or not sure, but we can definitely get cut off from all our miseries, all our sorrows, if our prayers are sincere to any God, any chosen God. Here Hanuman is there. Depending upon the spiritual level of evolvement, bhaktas worship Lord in different ways. In the beginning, the memory of God can be in the form of judge who will give us a reward or punishment for our good or evil actions. The devotee thinks that God is the giver of the fruits of karma. God gives the fruits for the work I must have done. But sometimes a devotee rendered pure, wonders, "Oh God, you give me even more than what I deserve. You give me even more than the fruits of my good actions of the past." So God is not only the giver of justice, but just the giver in abundance. He doesn't judge and give, he gives. He just gives. Here we cannot miss out, though it might have been told earlier, we cannot, in this relevance of this giver aspect of Bhagavan, we cannot miss out on the fortune or the grace, not fortune, the grace which Swami showered on selected students who had accompanied him to Kodai. And when one of the students in ecstasy blurts out, "Oh Swami, how many births of meritorious deeds of us and of our parents that has brought us here with you, and that is giving us all that you are giving now." And Swami turns back and says, "Infinite number of births of good deeds of your parents or yourself may not be sufficient to get what I am giving you. So just leave that thought. Just take fully what I am giving you out of love." So God doesn't do justice to our good or bad deeds and gives us, writes the rewards or punishments for us, but God is love. So He gives us much much more than what we deserve. Living example for this is the one who is talking to you now. If he ever thinks for a while what all merits he might have accumulated for whatever Swami has given him from the birth till 2010, and especially in 2010 and thereafter, he will have no answers, because any number of bursts of exclusive good deeds are also not sufficient to get what Swami gave him in the single birth. And we saw God as doing the justice, the judge, and we saw God as giver, and here God is the one who fosters, who helps us in our hours of need. The whole world may leave us when we need some help, but God is not like that. When we really need His help, His intervention, God comes. Sankat kate, mite sab peera. And then God is worshipped or seen as our Father. Thus, worshipping God in different ways, each devotee, like each flower has a different fragrance, each devotee takes in different fragrances, different dimensions in his spiritual evolvement. Each flower has a different fragrance. Similarly, the Lord also blossoms in different ways for these sincere devotees. God says, always come what may, remember me. Always remember me. In our life, He sends few calamities, gives us few sorrow. In this process, what He is doing, He shakes us and says, wake up, wake up. Wake up to me and sleep to this world, sleep to this samsara. God has thousands of ways to teach us lessons. One who has not opened the door of love in life towards God, and what we saw in the path towards Atmanivedanam, love for God expands to love for all His creation. Love towards God and all His beings. One who has not opened the door of his heart for this love, he may not even like this world at the end. There is a need in life to recognize this love, this feeling of this love, to maintain it and to enhance it. Tulsidas writes that by keeping all memories of remembering and worshipping God in various ways, we will get freedom from trouble. Smarana. Sumiran is Smaran. Vishnu Smaranam in the Navavida Bhakti. We will surely get freedom from all the trouble, but for that we should be remembering God incessantly. Sada Nirantar Hari Gunga. Glimpses from Sundar talks on this Japai. When we constantly think of God, we either think of our experience with Him, or our lips always hum His bhajans wherever we are. Sometimes with sound emerging when we sing, or sometimes in silence. Thus, His memory is always with us throughout our life. Vishnu Smarana. Hanuman is remembered as Balabira, mighty warrior. He is utterly humble inside, but when it comes to war, fighting the enemies from Sri Rama's side, he emerges as Balabira, a great mighty warrior, with his entire strength derived from his devotion, his surrender towards Rama. Swami says, God you think, God you become. Dust you think, dust you become. Brahmavit Brahmaiva Bhavati. Thus, in this context of this Chopai, our incessant smaranam of the mighty Balabira Hanuman, what should it bring in us? The same quality of total fearlessness. So, Brahmavit Brahmaiva Bhavati. Here, incessantly remembering and worshipping the Balabira aspect of Hanuman brings within us the same fearlessness. Total fearlessness is the benchmark of one who has attained self-realization. Sankat Kate, while thus contemplating on Hanuman or any god, walking fearlessly in our life sojourn, we are free from all our troubles and sorrows. In this context, Sundar brings in his often repeated subject when he says, Swami has told the students, when you look at the picture of the God, take the picture to God. Don't arrest God into the picture. We often get bhakti only when we sit in sadhana and look at those pictures, because maybe we might have arrested Swami in that picture only. instead of experiencing him, or at least trying to experiencing him as Brahmanda Nayaka Baba, the eternal creator, the Purusha, Brahman, and even beyond that Purushottama. Rather, what is required is that the relevance of it was also highlighted or subtly handled in the previous Chopai talk. The relevance of the idol, or the relevance of Swami in that white robe in Sadan, the relevance of worshipping that idol or that picture is that from the picture we start, and then we expand and we expand. We expand to the infinite nature of Bhagavan, Satyam Jnanam Anantam Lakshanas. And then in the process, the culmination is that we also expand ourselves within, because God is always within, not without, not outside us. From the picture, expand to Brahman. Don't arrest Brahman into that picture. So how this is relevant in the context of today's Chaupai? Till the time we are focusing only on the limited picture in our puja shrine or at Sadan or elsewhere, unless and until we expand from there, we are bound to carry all our sankat along with us. Physically, we may be seated in front of that altar or that picture, but mentally we will be immersed in all our troubles. In Upasana, you have to invoke the infinite consciousness. When we do Avahanam in Kurcham before any prayer or any ritual starts, what is the Aidiham? The Aidiham is that we are not starting from that Kurcham, that bowl. We are invoking that infinite consciousness to be present in that bowl as we carry on that particular ritual. So the starting is what? Starting is not that prop or that bowl. The starting is that infinite consciousness which we are praying to come and install in that place as we have to perform a ritual, a prayer. The moment you expand from limited form to infinite God, Ishvara, don't think that both are different. It is both are aspect of the same God. God is not different. Okay. Like he arrested himself into that 5 feet 2 inch figure in Puttaparthi, God arrests himself into that altar or picture for the sake of his devotees. And how devotees have to reciprocate, devotees have to start from there and glide along with God and expand to that infinite Anantam consciousness, where our trouble will be. We have cut Sankat Kate We have cut all our troubles, all our miseries. We have cut the samsara when we expand with God to exist as that infinite Anantam Brahman or Atman within. All other devatas, the material devatas explained in earlier verse, the mobile devata, etc., 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 all of them have vanished. And there is only one self, Atman. Maharaj, henceforth we will not take the trouble of saying sage from Ananda Kutir or Shivanandaji Maharaj. Henceforth, in all the talks, henceforth it will be only Maharaj. Maharaj means it is understood. It is Brahma Rishi Shivanandaji Maharaj. He goes even beyond the aspect of God as the remover of sorrow and writes, a real bhakta rejoices even in suffering, pain and destitution. He welcomes grief and sorrow always so that he may not forget God even for a second. He has the firm belief that God does everything for his good only. In Puri, a saint who completely dedicated himself to Lord Hari was seriously ailing from chronic dysentery. He became quite helpless. Lord Jagannath was serving him for months in the form of a servant. Are we not going through the same experience in the Sai Avatar when we read one of the kathas during every Paurnami? How Swami takes the form of that Aya and comes and helps this woman in delivering baby. Here, the law of prarabdha is inexorable, unavoidable. Nobody can escape from the operation of this law. The Lord did not want the bhakta to take another birth for the exhaustion of his prarabdha. So, his devotee had to suffer from the ailment that was his karmic debt. But what God did, what Jagannathji did, Jagannathji served himself. Because the devotee had surrendered himself completely to Lord Jagannath. Look at the unbounded mercy of the Lord. He becomes a slave of his devotees when they entirely depend on him. Or entirely surrendered. Surrender is the right word rather than depend. When they have surrendered totally to him. Self-surrender does not mean retirement into forests. Tamas or inertia should not be mistaken as self-surrender. What is wanted is internal surrender. The ego and the desire must be annihilated. This will constitute real surrender. Completely dedicate yourself to the Lord. Have a full trust in Him. Rest in peace. All cares, worries, anxieties, tribulations, and egoistic efforts will terminate now. Now Maharaj comes to the same Sankat Kate. He goes on, look at Prahlad's surrender and faith in God. He completely resigned himself to Lord Hari. This has also been quoted in various talks. No other thought save thought of Narayana occupied Prahlad's mind. He had his full grace and benediction, even though he was ill-treated by his father in variety of ways. He was hurled down from the top of a cliff. He was trampled by an elephant. He was poisoned. He was thrown into the sea with the legs tied by iron chain. Cobras were thrown over him. His nose was filled with poisonous gases. He was thrown over fire. Boiled oil was poured over his head. Yet his faith in Narayana was not shaken a bit. The name of Narayana was always on his lips. Such must be the faith of every devotee. Keep the mind and the intellect passive. Allow the divine will and grace to work through your mind and the indriyas. Become silent. Feel His grace and love and enjoy the divine ecstasy. Be at ease. Pray to God fervently, O Lord, make my will strong, Balabira, make my will strong to resist all temptations, to control my indriyas and lower nature, to change my old evil habits and to make my surrender complete and real. Enthrone thyself in my heart, O Lord. Do not leave this place even for a second, He Hridaya Nivasi. Use my body, mind and organs as instruments. Make me fit to dwell in Thee forever. Allow the divine will thus to work unhampered. This is the secret of surrender. Great transformation will come upon you. You will be enveloped by a halo of divine effulgence. Your old little ego self is dead now. You are now a changed spiritual being. Your individual will is merged in the cosmic will. You are now illumined by the divine light. All ignorance has melted now. Enjoy the immortal divine life wherein there is neither despair nor fear, neither hunger nor thirst, neither doubt nor delusion. Shine in divine splendor and joy. And say, oh my beloved Vishwanath, radiate peace and joy all around. Brothers and sisters, today he is recording on the previous day, but when this reaches you, that today, tomorrow, Saturday is Hanuman Jayanti. Shri Hanuman is worshipped all over India, either alone or together with Shri Rama. Every temple of Shri Rama has the murti of Shri Hanuman. Hanuman was the avatar of Lord Shiva, as we have already seen in the earlier chapais. The introduction to the Hanuman Chalisa talk. When he went to Ravana, Hanuman said, I am a humble messenger of Lord Shri Rama. I have come here to serve Shri Rama, to do his work. By the command of Shri Rama, I have come here. I am fearless by the grace of Shri Rama. I am not afraid of death by the grace of Shri Rama. I welcome death even if it comes while serving Shri Rama. See how humble Hanuman was. How deep was his devotion to Sri Rama. His birthday falls on Chaitra Shukla Purnima, the March-April full moon day. On this holy day, worship Sri Hanuman. People fast on this day. Read the Sri Hanuman Chalisa. Spend the whole day in the japa of Ramana. We offer with most sincere heart a bhajan on this auspicious Hanuman Jayanti day to end this talk on this japai. प्रभु रामचंद्र के दूता हनुमंता आंजनेया हनुमंता 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 आंजनेया हे पवन पुत्र हनुमंता भल भीमांजनेया भल भीमा आंजनेया भल भीमा भल भीमा भल भीमा आंजनेया जय हो जय हो जय हो आंजनेया जय हो जय जय हो जय हो आंजनेया प्रभु रामचंद्र के दूता हनुमंता आंजनेया। जय श्री राम। जय बोलो हनुमान की। जय सीता मैया की। जय बोलो भगवान श्री सत्य साई बाबा की। साई राम।